The veteran returns home. The old two-lane highway stretched before me like a ribbon of faded memories. The paint on the road was cracked, the fields on both sides rolling into golden hills. And for the first time in years, I was heading home. Not the kind of home most people mean, the place where you spend your weekends mowing the lawn or hanging Christmas lights. No. My home was my father's farmhouse. It's tucked away at the edge of a town that had grown a little too polished for its own good. Dad had passed a year earlier, while I was overseas on deployment. I hadn't even made it back for the funeral. The guilt of that sat heavy on my chest as I pulled my old Ford into the long gravel driveway. Every crunch of the tires echoed in my chest. The house stood just as I remembered. 2 stories of weathered wood, porch swing that creaked when the wind touched it, and a flagpole out front where Dad's American flag used to wave proudly. Now, it was gone. The pole was still there, but the flag had been stripped away. I killed the engine and just sat there for a moment. Dust swirled in the sunlight, my chest tightened. That flag wasn't just fabric. Dad had fought for it. He'd raised me to respect it, and now it was gone. I stepped out of the truck, the heat of the afternoon pressing against me. And for a second it felt like my boots were too heavy. My combat boots had marched across deserts and cities torn by war, but here, in my own hometown, they suddenly felt out of place. As I walked toward the porch, her voice rang out. Well, well, well. Look who finally decided to come back. I turned. She stood at the edge of the driveway, arms folded, lips pursed into that permanent scowl I remembered all too well. Karen, the neighborhood's self-proclaimed queen. The woman who had run the Homeowners Association with an iron fist long before I left. Her hair was bleached into a brittle shade of blonde, her sunglasses perched high like a crown. She wore a pastel sweater draped over her shoulders, even though the temperature was pushing 90. And in her hand, of course, was a clipboard. Karen, I said flatly. You know, she replied, clicking her tongue. Your father let this place go downhill. The grass, the paint, that dreadful old truck in the driveway. She paused, tilting her head. I suppose you'll be just like him. I clenched my jaw. This is my family's house, not yours. Karen smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile predators give when they know their prey has nowhere to run. Oh, I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, she said sweetly. You see, your father owed years of HOA dues, refused to comply with basic regulations, and now, she tapped her clipboard. Now it's all in our hands. I stepped closer, the gravel crunching beneath my boots. What are you saying? Karen's eyes gleamed behind her sunglasses. I'm saying, soldier, that your little inheritance may not be yours for long, unless you can pay what your father owed on. Fix every violation, this property could be seized. And the HOA will make sure of it. The words hit me like a sucker punch. Seized my father's house? The place he built with his own 2 hands after coming home from Vietnam? The place where he taught me how to ride a bike, how to plant tomatoes, how to shoot a rifle? No, I wasn't going to let that happen. Karen must have seen the fire in my eyes because she smirked again. Don't look at me like that, I'm just doing my job. Rules are rules. With that, she turned on her heel and strutted back toward her perfectly manicured yard, the smell of her perfume lingering faintly in the hot air. I stood there, fists tight at my sides, staring at the house that was supposed to be mine. My father's voice echoed in my head, his old saying whenever things got hard. Son, some battles aren't fought with bullets, they're fought with patience and paperwork. I didn't know it then, but those words would become my weapon. In the war ahead, because this wasn't just about HOA fines. This was about Karen's power, and I was about to tear it from her hands, piece by piece. As I pushed open the creaking front door and stepped inside, the dust of 1,000 memories rose up to meet me. The battle had already begun.